Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Brothers and sisters, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, this evening, continue to talk on the important topic of religion and belief. In the video, and the reason for me doing this talk over and over again, because it is so important, because it has to do with we trying to attain happiness in the future. We are concerned with our future, and I make the best choice in this world to make me to do this talk on religion and belief, because I'll get benefit from it, and you who listen to this talk will also get the benefit from listening to people who give the talk on religion and belief, because I base my talk on reading the Koran as well as Gospel of Barnabas. So, brothers and sisters, let me recap what I have said yesterday based on reading the Quran. Let me try to remember without referring to the Quran. Okay. I think was talking about subject of divorce. So there is a rule of divorce in Islam. So there is a guidance in Islam with regard to divorce. In Islam, divorce is allowed. I know certain belief divorce is not allowed. I think certain belief in, I couldn't remember, but Islam it is allowed. But then there is a tradition saying divorce is something that Allah dislike, but Allah allow it. Alhamdulillah, it is allowed, because marriage sometimes doesn't work as expected. Husband and wife wouldn't bear to live together anymore for certain reasons, and then they make a choice to separate. Of course, divorce is not a happy thing. it is a sad ending to a marriage, and so marriage is not always working. Sometimes it fails, but the guidance in the Koran should be followed. So in Islam, there is stages in divorce, and there is also a chance of reconciliation. The stage of divorce is when husband and wife decided to plan a divorce. First, there is a waiting period of 4 months before divorce proceeding can take place. So these 4 months is 3 or 4 times the menstruation cycle of a woman, because it is required to make clear that no life is forming in the womb of woman. So just to make sure it is clear on that part. So after the 4-month period, which is also a period where husband and wife could become good again, like think twice before you decide, something like that. So that is the good thing of the waiting period. So after the waiting period of 4 months, then the man can decide whether to go ahead for a divorce or not. The decision is on the right of men to decide, but there are also a right woman. If the woman say, I don't want to divorce, it should also be heard. But then the priority is given to men to say, yes, I want divorce. So without men saying divorce, then there would not be a divorce. But then a woman can also ask for divorce, though men don't want a divorce, by kind of sacrifice, meaning that the woman willing to pay money or for the man that I'll give you certain amount of money mentioned as sacrifice in the Koran. So if the man agree, okay, I take the money and I'm willing. So it's like kind of a negotiation. If the woman want to divorce, pay a sacrifice. So it may work that way if woman wants to divorce. So there is also a second chance or like a negotiation that a woman can do if she wants to really divorce. So again, there is a witness, a judge there in Islam, that the judge will look for reason as well, and if the reason is valid or there's not much reconciliation can be done, then the divorce proceeding, then go ahead with the divorce. But it has always been the judge trying to advise the difficulty they would face in divorce. So there is a check and balance as well, because at times it's the like too quick decision, meaning being angry at the time of the moment. So when the anger is over, then reconciliation is possible. I think the rule is beautiful, I should say, because of waiting, reconciliation, and the right of man given the priority to say divorce, because man is less emotional than woman. So maybe of that the number of divorce can be reduced by giving men to have their priority to decide on divorce or not, and make it more difficult for women to get a divorce by paying sacrifice. Alhamdulillah, I hope what I understand is correct, and if I don't understand it correctly, I ask forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what I've been trying my best to understand it. I have read it many times, and I believe my understanding is right. But if it is wrong, I ask forgiveness. You can always refer to someone who is more well-versed than me Because I have been reading to you sentence by sentence and explain sentence by sentence, and hopefully my understanding was right. Okay, that's my recap on reading the Quran. So now let me recap on reading the Gospel of Barnabas. Let me see, I could not remember. I think we passed over on the story of Abraham. Yes, it is to do with giving. Oh yes, it has to do with elders. This is interesting. Some people respect elders, but then how many people just follow their elders blindly in faith? And then if the elders worship to idol, they also worship to idol. And the reason is because their grandfather was doing it. So, and Jesus, and in the Revelation here, also mention about how the elders cause people to go to hell too. So that's what this chapter 32 is saying about the elders. And also mention the story of a king who loved his father so much that he made a statue of his father, but then it became the start of people worshipping statue. This is amazing story to me, because you wonder why people worship statue. So this is the reason of the story. But I also heard the story of people worshipping statue is the story I heard from watching a YouTube. It started very early already, when Adam was still alive at that time. So maybe toward the end of his life, because Adam lived to 1,000 years, and then there was also a prophet there named Prophet Idris. At that time, you know, they were in the right path, and the people put much respect for their elders because the elders were good people, obedience to Allah, and very nice people that Satan make suggestion to them saying, since you respect your father, you admire your father, why not make remembrance of your elders by making statue of them. So from this, so there were many statues made representing their elders, because their elders were good people. So in order to remember them well, they make statue. And this story mentioned in the chapter 32 was also story of a king who admired his father, and he made a statue of his father and put his father statue in the marketplace, and then he tell people to pass near his father. Whoever pass near his father, he will be safe. I don't know what the king would do if someone try to avoid going close to his father's statue. Maybe he put a fine, or he could also punish the people who refuse to walk near, just to pass near. So this thing become like a law or rule in the city. But then in the end, the people began to get deviated and start to offer flowers to the statue, like showing respect, and then change into offering money to the statues, and on it become like the start of worshipping statue. His father is Baal, so you can see that during Abraham time, the Baal statue was made by Abraham father, and then that was the biggest statue that Abraham father made, and that statue was named Baal. And so the word Baal is mentioned here. So that is maybe the origin story of how people began to worship statue. Okay, that is a kind of knowledge that we had on the origin of worshipping statue. But then Jesus was also saying that was a statue made of stone, and Jesus will also mention statue made of flesh. So when statue made of flesh is mentioned, that people start to like worshipping the living prophets, or begin to believe that prophets is son of God, things like that. When Jesus was worshipped as son of God, Jesus was still alive at that moment, because that was the teaching of Paul, the false prophet, who teach people that Jesus was son of God. And for that reason, I think Jesus was saying here, the worshipping the statue of flesh, because he was still alive, so he was still in flesh, and that reason the term statue of flesh came about. I think that complete my recap on reading the chapter that I have read to you yesterday. I don't know which chapter it is. Let me see. Chapter 35, 36. So today I should be reading chapter 36. So keep this aside. So, brothers and sisters, let me read the Koran. Okay, we should be reading Quran on page 37. Oh no, we should be reading we should be reading page 38. Okay, in this room, light is not so bright as outside. I still need a magnifying glass. Okay, to get the barakah up this morning, let me read the first sentence, 234, on this page 38 in Arabic. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والذين يتوفون منكم ويذرون أزواجا يتربصن بأنفسهن أربعة أشهر وعشرا فإذا بلغن أجلهن فلا جناح عليكم فيما فعلن في أنفسهن بالمعروف والله بما تعملون خبير. Sadaqallahul Azim. Okay, brothers and sisters, let us read the meaning of the sentence 234. Let's see whether I can just read. And the people that die among you, and whilst living wife, then it is required the wife to wait 4 months and 10 days. Then if the period of waiting is over, that is their iddah. So this waiting period is the period of iddah. I think the word iddah is quite commonly mentioned. Then there is no sin for you with regard to them doing the way that is right. Allah is all-knowing on what you are doing. So next sentence, and there is no sin for you to propose woman by saying indirectly or giving clue. Whilst you hide your wish in your heart, Allah knows. What is in your heart. As your heart will be mentioning their name. Meaning that if the people are still in iddah, then a man can only say indirectly of one thing to marry the woman a clue. But then don't you make a promise to marry with them except in hidden way. Like saying good thing and